Good morning, Chef Ken, Culinary Jazz. It is morning here in Bothell, Washington, and I've got my coffee, but then again, I'll have coffee any time of day because I love coffee. If you don't love coffee, I don't know why. It's great. But I have switched to a lot of decaf because too much caffeine is not good. What we're going to do today is we're going to trim a fillet, a tenderloin of beef. I don't think we did one yet, did we, Katie, producer? No, we haven't done a fillet yet. We've done New York sirloins. I think we've done a few New York sirloins. I don't think we did ribeye, but we have ribeye today, and we have fillet. And Katie, my daughter, went out and she bought at a restaurant supply store. She bought some Angus choice meat at a very good price. So what the main purpose of doing this is to show you how to do it, but to save you money. I have this little thing that I just found here. I looked for prices of tenderloin or filet mignon in the supermarkets, and I found one here that has a nice Chateaubriand, 2.5 pound Chateaubriand, and the price is $22 a pound. And how much was this a pound, Katie? Do you remember? 15 $15 a pound. Okay, big difference, right? Now there's going to be a little bit we have to trim off it, but you're going to save a lot of money. And if you want to treat yourself, and I'm just thinking prices have gone up so much. Food prices, they say, I just heard this morning, have gone up 21% in the last 3 years. But if you look around, I was at Costco the other day, you look around, I know flours doubled, sugars doubled, most of the meats have doubled. I'd say they've gone up 100% in 4 years or so. In any event, you got to save money. And then going out to restaurants is just part. I was in the restaurant business. Don't go out. Don't go out. You can do it at home. You can do it at home. You can trim meat at home. You can cook meat at home. You don't need to go out. You can save money. You can have the most beautiful Ruth Chris style filet mignon for $10 or $12 instead of $89, which is crazy. So what you got to do first is learn what the meat is, where it comes from, why is it tender? Why is it tender? The word tenderloin explains it all right there. Tenderloin. It comes from loin. The loin, as you know, it runs along the back of the animal. And I've got this here. I've got the rib here, the ribeye here. If I were to take this ribeye, right, and I'd say, here's a ribeye, and up this, so the head of the cow is going to be up there. The tail is going to be back here, right? The loin, the back of the cow, the saddle of the cow is right here. So this is the rib, which has 7 bones in it. Then there's 5 rib bones in the chuck. And then there's 1 in the New York sirloin, or the sirloin. So the sirloin would be here, not the filet mignon. The sirloin would be right here, right? Connected to this. Then on the underside of this, that's along the back. On the underside of this, actually in this position, with the head here and the tail here, under the New York is the tenderloin. Why is it tender? It doesn't ever get used. It's never used. If you think about the back, say, look, you're looking at the back of this cow. The cow does what? Do they do a lot of squats, bending, lifting stuff up, laying a lot of bricks or anything like that? No, they do nothing but stand there. So the rib and the New York sirloin on the top, they're just holding their back up from becoming a sway back. They're just holding it up. So those muscles are used to hold it up. Nobody's riding it. I don't do horses, but I imagine horses' backs are a little stronger because people are riding them. But cows, no, they're just hanging out eating, right? So they don't use that. So they're tender, the most tender parts. You get to the head or the chuck or the tail where the rounds are and the rump. Those are legs. They're moving, moving, moving. So those muscles are tougher, right? So in the middle, we got the more tender parts. Now then, that's on the top, along the top of the animal. Then underneath, where it never gets used at all, is this poor tenderloin. Poor little muscle never works. So what happens? It's very tender. Okay, so enough of that. So this is a 189A. Doesn't mean anything to you, but the way they come, the old days they came, they have fat, a lot of fat. They usually have an inch of fat on top. That's suet. If you ever went out and bought suet, suet's going to come from kidneys or the top of the filet mignon because it's under, it's in the inside. It's not on top of meat that's muscles that are being moved. That's a more of a yellowy fat. It's a white, flaky fat. That's what comes on this. And that, you could just peel that off. You just start peeling it by hand, take it off. So when I started, it came with the fat, and they'd be anywhere from 10 to 16 pounds with the fat. You take off 2, 3 pounds of fat. This one is about 9 pounds, 9.5 pounds. It's pretty big. It's really big because the fat's already off. So it comes this way, and it comes with that fat off, but you still have all the silver skin on here. And then you have on here what is called the side muscle, or what we also call the chain, right? Now, I don't know if you can see this, but I don't want to screw it up, but if I separate it a little bit, you'll see there's a muscle on the side here. That's called side muscle. So this is called a pismo, peeled fillet with the side muscle on. Side muscle on, pismo, side muscle on. Now, you could take that off, use it for brochettes or fillet tips, whatever you want. It's a beautiful piece, or you could leave it on. It's up to you. But that's always on there. Then you also have what's called the wedge fat in here, which is left. And depending on the piece, there's a little bit of fat in here. Sometimes it's bigger than that. So you got to get that wedge fat out of there. Wedge fat's out, right? So I think I'm going to put this scale on, see how much waste we have on this. All right. Now, silver skin. If you've never taken a silver skin off of anything, it's really not tough. And I'm just going to... We are dog sitting here today, so this... I'm just going to simply take a boning knife. I don't have a boning knife here, but better than a boning knife, I like to use a paring knife. I hope everybody has a paring knife. And all you got to do is you look at the silver skin here. It's about this much of it. You pick at it anywhere you want. And then with your blade kind of pointing upwards so you don't cut down into the meat, just do this and just peel it back. This is so simple, like filleting a fish. Okay, we're back here. So as I said, I'm taking off this silver skin. So you just get that paring knife underneath the silver skin, bring it up. There's a little bit of meat on this top of this. That's nothing. You can't do anything about that. You could scrape it off and save it for chopped meat or something, but there's not really enough to worry about. What I like to do with this sometimes, if there's some meat on it, just save it and brown it. If I'm making a stock or a soup, just brown it up, crisp it up, render it down. The little bit of fat that's on it will make a nice fat for sauteing your vegetables in a beef soup. All right, so that's going to be that. I'm going to go this way now, turn it around. Now, I used to do, quite a few of these every day. And I got to the point where I don't think it would take me more than about 3-4 minutes. Of course, I'm taking more time today. And of course, I'm out of shape too. I haven't done them in years. But probably because I can't afford it either. But my daughter's having some company over, and she just wants to really show them a good dinner. So we're going to have filet. You can't get any better than that. All right, so I'm coming up here on this chain and following the silver skin right into the chain. This is nothing but you looking at it and saying, oh, that's got to come off. There's no, you could leave it on and worry about it. But I see these fillets in the supermarket now, and these butchers or the supermarkets are so cheap and lazy that they don't take this off. They'll cut filet mignon tenderloin steaks with the silver skin on. Now, two things can happen. You charbroil it, that silver skin shrinks up and it can curl. Then you can't eat it. It's too tough to eat. All right, so once you're done with the silver skin, you come down here, you have this little bit of sinew and stuff here that just pulls right off by hand. Boom, boom, boom. Put that on the scale. And I'm going to come back here, down to the tail. Some fat here. And a little bit of fat on the chain here that I'll take off. And then that's that. So all I got to do here now, it's pretty clean. I'm going to turn it over and we'll look at the bottom side. Sometimes there's stuff on the bottom. There's a little bit of silver skin here. Take that off. You don't want something nobody can chew. A little piece of silver skin always on this side. And that's it. That is it. So we've got just a pound of waste here. So we're ready to go. We can cut steaks. We can do what we want. Now we're going to be roasting this. So I don't know exactly how big we're going to keep it for roasting, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tail piece off. And I'm going to leave it like this. Now this is ready for us depending on how big we want to use it. I can cut it smaller, bigger, do we want. What I'm going to do with this when I decide how much we're going to roast, I'm going to take this steel and I'm going to shove it right through the middle. And then I'm going to take a mixture of shallots and garlic sauteed with maybe some herbs of some sort. I don't even know. This is jazz now. We're fooling around. And then I'm going to just fill that hole all the way through with it. So that as this cooks, I'm not going to put raw garlic in it because it doesn't get hot enough in the middle to cook it. You know, if you're doing pork or something like that, put raw garlic in. But here, we're only going to get to 125, 30 degrees in the middle. So it's just going to get warm, but that flavor will come through. Plus, every time you take a little piece of it, you get a little piece of that. It's not a stuffing, but it's just, so this is going to be delicious. You're going to love this. And just season it all over the outside. And me, I'm just salt and pepper. Just salt and pepper. We're going to put it in a charbroiler, get well charred, and then put it in the oven. Doesn't take long. Doesn't take long at all. We use a thermometer to tell the temp. The old days, just give you tips from the old days. I never tested meat in all my years in the kitchen. Never tested meat with a thermometer. We just tested it by two ways. We'd put the fork in it, and then put a fork to our lip. Say, okay, we know what temperature it is. The other way with a fillet, which is really easy, right here in the middle. Right here, it's going to start getting tougher. It's so soft. Look, oh my God, look how soft this is. But as it cooks, it firms up. So you're going to feel this. You're going to go, oh boy, that's too rare. And as it firms up, you go, okay. So I could tell perfectly medium rare every time. So that's it. And then you just cut across the grain to make your steaks. So we're left with, what did I say? There's a pound of that. So out of 9 pounds, we have 8 pounds of meat. And I'll figure it out and give you the results later on it. But it's going to come out to a lot less than $22 a pound. I guarantee you that. And it's going to be just as good, maybe even better, because we don't even know what quality they're using. We know the quality of this. It's Angus, choice, beautiful, beautiful piece of meat. So try this. Don't be afraid. You've got this you can use for little petite fillets or for sirloin tips, and the rest is all steaks. This is all steaks right here. You can get 8 beautiful big steaks out of this, because I said there's how many pounds left out of a pound? There's 8 pounds left. Even if you take a pound of this, that's 7 pounds off. You can get 14 8-ounce steaks out of this. An 8-ounce filet mignon. You know what that costs? You get 14. You're doing well. All right, I'm going to come back in a little while and we're going to do a ribeye. Good morning. Good morning. Chef Ken and my beautiful granddaughter Izzy. Can you see Izzy? Yeah, Izzy's there. You see Izzy? You can come over here a little closer, Izzy. Come on over here. Today, what we're going to talk about was we're getting ready for this party we're having tonight, and we baked a couple of cakes, and we trimmed a beautiful tenderloin the other day. We had the whole filet mignon tenderloin. It was about 9 pounds, and we trimmed it up, came out with about 7.5 pounds. And so for the crowd we're having tonight, I figured there's about 4.5, 5 pounds, that should be enough. So I didn't need the whole thing, so I cut off like 4 nice tenderloin steaks that can be used later. A little bit of trimming here that can be used. But then what I was going to do, as I discussed the other day, is, I've always, or a lot of people have, and maybe most of you might have done it, you take a pork roast and you shove a hole through the pork roast, and then you can shove in garlic cloves or prunes or herbs or anything like that. And what I'm going to do here that's a little different is I've never done it with beef. But what I made was a little maitre d' butter, maitre d' hotel butter. You'll go to restaurants and they'll say filet mignon served with maitre d' hotel butter. And that was very popular for 40 years. I don't see it anymore at all. So it's a compound butter. That's a proper term for it. You could have anything from anchovies in it to garlic and herbs like this, whatever you want to put in it. So you just soften up the butter and you put whatever's in it. And in this case, I'm not putting raw garlic or shallots in it because it's going in the middle of a fillet. If it was going in pork and it was getting hot, I could put raw in there because it would heat all the way through. But this is only going to get to rare. So I want it cooked first. So I cooked the shallots and garlic, minced shallots and garlic, and then I added herbs. I added tarragon and basil. Tarragon because I love béarnaise sauce. If you don't know what béarnaise sauce is, it's like a hollandaise with tarragon and shallots in it. So instead of having the sauce, we're going to have it in a compound butter. But that compound butter would usually be in a roll, you slice it and you put it on top of a hot steak to melt over the steak when it's served. As soon as you're ready to serve it, you put it on top of that sizzling hot steak and you take it out to the customer and all this herb butter melts over it. Well, I can't do this with a roast. So I'm gonna try. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna just delete this whole video and that'll be it. But what I'm gonna try is I've made the hole in the fillet with this steel, right? The sharpening steel. All right, so I've got the sharpening steel in there now, and I'm gonna take a pastry bag, a throwaway pastry bag, and I'm gonna put my butter in there, and I'm gonna try to squeeze this into the middle of this filet mignon, this beef tenderloin. And hopefully I'll be successful, but this is culinary jazz. It's nothing I've ever done before. I'm deciding to say, you know what? I'm roasting a filet, I know how to do that, I've got what it takes to do that. And the way we're going to cook this filet is we're going to grill this on a charbroiler slowly. And when it gets to be nicely brown, we put it in the oven for however long it takes. Like anything else, however long it takes. But slowly at that point. All right, so I'm going to work fast here, and I'm going to take this out and try to work before the meat closes up in that hole. All right? You wish me luck. All right, seems to be going in all right. I can see the meat expanding. Look at it. The meat is blowing up. I could see it from here. So it's all in there. Now a lot of this is going to ooze out on the grill, cause some flames. I don't care. But it will melt in there and hopefully permeate that meat a little bit and give it some flavor. All right, of course, right at the end, my pastry bag broke. So I'll just take some of this butter and rub it on it. Oh, I wish you could smell that. All right, and that's it. Now we're ready to go. We've got this thing filled up with the herb butter. And that's it. So we put it on the grill, turn it once, bring it in, put it in the oven, slice it. And I'm making I made an Espanol sauce with lots of onions, and I'm going to add sour cream and white wine to that, which is going to turn that Espanol sauce into what's called a smitane sauce. A smitane sauce is like a brown sauce with white wine, shallots, onions, and sour cream. And that's going to be served with that and poppy seed noodles. It's going to be a wonderful dinner. Come back and enjoy it with us.